Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is Friday, January 14th, 2020, wildcard weekend. This is your midday market report, and we are blessed and honored to have Riley Magnuson from Talking the Line from the Windy City. We're going to get a little temperature on some cheesehead football. Even though they have the week off, maybe we have some insight on who they're hoping for to watch and win, and so they can play. Is it the Niners? I wouldn't want to play the Niners right now, but that's for a whole nother story. But we're blessed. We're going to talk some Big Ten baskets. We're going to talk some NBA leans, and we're just going to talk some sports, some opening numbers, some closing numbers, some midday numbers, and we're going to get you ready for tonight and the weekend, and hopefully cash some tickets. So without further ado, my good friend from the Windy City, Riley Magnuson. Riley, my brother, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Jeff. How are you doing on your side of the things? It is a little balmy here, cold here in Windy City, but we're making the sunshine inside, as my partner and I like to say. But I'm getting excited for not only tonight, but this whole weekend. As a diehard NFL veteran fan, I feel like it's Christmas Eve today as far as getting into some action. You mentioned I've got a nice little relaxing weekend as far as personal fandom stress with my Packers. So I'm excited for not only NFL action this weekend, but you mentioned NBA tonight. I found some plays in between my show and your show that I like today. So nice little midday ads as far as my side of things. And then obviously we've got loads of college basketball all weekend. So it's a beautiful weekend of sports, my good friend over here. How are you doing over there?
We're doing fine. We're in the middle of a storm, which has started out wind and rain, and then later this evening supposed to get real cold, icy, and maybe 3 to 4 inches of snow, enough to be a pain in the what come early in the morning. I had your partner Colton on yesterday.
Yes, you did.
I need to ask you your side of the story on this.
Okay.
Because I was on you guys' timeline like I am daily. I felt the vibes. I thought I was back to the Jordan era. And,
oh boy.
And I was like, holy cow, they're back. As a 1.5 point favorite to the Brooklyn Nets. And I think the world was on the Bulls too. You know, I always talk on my side of the street is this: are you buying the sizzle or are you buying the steak? And a lot of times we get caught up in that sizzle, and especially, short favorites at home, and there was no better intro in the history of sports, but the Bulls intro back in the day. That guy is just fun. If I ever could get him on to do our intros.
But no kidding.
It was a Barks to wire bashing. It was, you know what? You don't really want to face this in the playoffs. It was a statement. It was a statement made by the Nets. So again, we're not going to dwell on it because that's 2 days ago. I just want to know, leading up to it, your thoughts, and then the aftermath. That's all.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. And I kind of addressed it yesterday for the both of us yesterday. So we were through the roof with excitement. And, I kind of pushed back on a lot of people that were outside of Bulls, Bulls social media and whatnot, because it seemed like they thought we were hyping this up as our Super Bowl. It's win or bust. And we were more so just excited to be in this type of conversation because the last 6 years up until this year have been 3 or 4 years of just unwatchable teams, and this team has just exceeded our expectations to the point where, it's a passionate fan base that has just been itching for even a 7 or 6 seed in the playoffs, let alone knocking at the door of the 1 seed. So that was part of the anticipation. And leading into that game, I really thought they had a chance, and I as a fan, I wasn't watching the line move right before the tip off. It was the Bulls were plus 1.5, and I kind of saw what might have been coming our way, and I said, oh boy, I hope we didn't go a little overzealous on this one. You're right. We don't want to see that Nets team. I've been saying for a while, if they've got all 3 of those guys healthy and playing well, I don't think there's anyone standing in their way on any given night if they want to win, let alone for the entire season. So, I mean, obviously, it's still kind of an experiment as far as having all three guys on the road, maybe only having a couple of them at home, still trying to figure that out. But so far on the road hasn't slipped them up too much. But, the Bulls will get a couple guys back and help them as far as matchup wise. But I still don't. Against the Nets, if they're trying to win games, I think they're going to win just about whatever game they want to win.
No, in September, I had talked on our show at the Breakfast Bankroll in the morning and to our ECSI VIP clients, the hint, the West to take a shot back then was 13-1, some 11 on the Golden State. And they've got off to a great start. And again, the NBA in the 82-game season, injuries, COVID, so much can happen. A lot of these veteran teams, the season doesn't start till after the All-Star break. Right. But it's good to get out early and to make a statement. And Golden State did this without Clay. Now Clay is back. In the East, my dark horse was your Bulls. And looking for potential teams that could compete and beat the Bucks and, of course, the Brooklyn Nets. I talked about the Heat as well, but I really keyed on the Bulls. And again, no shame in your game. I mean, an amazing start, a great start where you can, at the All-Star break and the trade deadline, become buyers, where lots of seasons you were sellers. So you can add that missing piece, just to strengthen you. But I think you said something that is so spot on. Reminds me back of the old Celtic days with Larry in the game. They would play grab ass for 2-3 quarters. They would look up. They would all, at the start of the fourth quarter, they give each other a high five and then go beat you by 20 in the fourth quarter. And you said something about the Nets. If they come to play and they want to win, they're going to win.
Right. I think they can. I mean, I was talking about it. I saw someone, what would the world look like if Kevin Durant wore, a half-inch smaller shoe right now? What would the world look like? If you remember back to the playoffs, he was about this close from, winning the game, I think, as opposed to sending it to overtime to, down the Bucks in that series. I think they can get it done with 2 out of the 3 guys, as long as KD is one of them. But let alone if all 3 of them are playing, because Kyrie wasn't even that star-studded against the Bulls, and they still got it done. So I think that I typically stay away from the Bulls spreads unless I feel really strongly. Which of course you saw us. We felt pretty strongly the other night. Staying away tonight. Got another primetime matchup on ESPN against the Warriors, who are also kind of scuffling. Don't have strong thoughts there, but I'll be obviously watching as a fan. I like to go into the prop markets for the Bulls games typically.
We talked about the cheeseheads. Here you are in the Windy City, and I didn't hear the word Bears when we were first introduced. And I was talking to Colton. I was like, oh, my God, we're going to get some great Bear talks. And his eyes lit up. He goes, not from Riley, you're not. Cheeseheads, number 1 seed, week off. Another week to get healthy, and it sounds like you're getting healthier by the day here. Yeah. A team that egg on my face 2 years in a row, absolutely demolished in San Fran 2 years ago in the NFC Championship game last year. Short favorites against Tom Brady and couldn't get the job done. And just basically boxed the wire here. Number 1 seed. Thoughts going into the playoffs, thoughts with the bye week, thoughts on who you would like to play versus not play?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. As far as the divisional round, I would feel very confident in their chances against any of the 4 options. But the one team that you mentioned is the 4th option that I would like to see is the San Francisco 49ers because of what they can do in the run game. And you mentioned the Packers' defense. I think defense is going to be a key, especially if we're talking as far as that matchup goes. I'm not too concerned about the other 3 options, whether it's the Eagles, which I don't expect, or the Monday night matchup, Cardinals or Rams. I like the Packers' matchups against both of those teams. But you mentioned the guys are coming back, and it's mostly, for the most part, on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, get David Bakhtiari coming back, which is massive on the offensive line. But they're getting a lot of guys defensively that we thought we might be out for the entire season and playoffs. You talk about Zadarius Smith and Whitney Merciless. Even if they make any minor impacts, that's going to help us a lot because the defense has been I don't know if scuffling is the right word, but not as strong as it had been for the first 10, 12 weeks of the season. But getting these guys back, I think, should help. But you mentioned the Niners. That would be the one team that I really would prefer not to see. We'll see. I'm torn on that game as far as Cowboys-Niners, who's going to win that one. But that would be my fourth option. That's the last option I want to see, because you mentioned 2 years ago they get their ass kicked in San Francisco. I don't think that Niners team is as good as they were then, getting to the Super Bowl, but they still have some residual PTSD, if you will, as far as us Packers fans are concerned, as far as that game and 2 games that season. Actually, they did the same thing to us in the regular season that year. And we've handled them a couple times in the regular season, but obviously that one early in the season was last 40-second field goal drive by Rodgers to get the win in that one. So that would be my choice as far as who I'd prefer not to see out of the 4 options here this weekend.
And what scares me with the Niners, that was our choice in August and September to be the NFC champs, and have some futures in that, and also Super Bowl champs. But of all the games this weekend, they look like that public trendy dog, which so often than not does not come in. I mean, if you're looking for true value, and probably by kickoff, I don't think it goes below 3, but you're getting a flat 3 right now. And if that ever ducked down to 2.5, the actual value is Dallas at home to win by a field goal or more.
I think I agree. My partner was talking 49ers. I'm completely torn on this one. I think I agree with you. I think the Cowboys get it done at home. I'm not a person that believes in the NFL is rigged by any means, but if we are talking in that conversation, you have to imagine the Cowboys would get the edge as far as that conversation. But like I said, that's typically not my angle. As it stands right now, maybe I'll be that one's, I believe, on Sunday. Maybe I'll have different opinions by then. As of now, I'm watching that one as a fan. I don't know about you.
Well, we're talking football, so instead of diving into baskets, I don't want to throw these guys some curveballs here and flip-flop back and forth.
Oh, that's all right.
Saturday, we got 2 games. We got the Raiders at the Bengals, and I'm seeing 5.5s opened at 6. This game intrigues me in one regards, is the fact that this Raiders team was dead and buried a month ago. They were done. Mm-hmm. They had lost Chucky. He was fired. They lose Henry Ruggs to an DUI.
Yeah.
John Madden passes. There's just so much going on. They win 2 games they're supposed to win. They go to the Colts, which no one thought they were going to win. And then, of course, the Sunday night game where the whole world is praying for the tie. And one bad timeout by Coach Staley. And next thing you know, Chargers kick the field goal and they're in. Any thoughts on Joe and Chase versus the Raiders?
This is the other one, so I'll try and give my best thoughts. We locked in a few player props about a couple hours ago on our show that I can tell you what we locked in. My first gut tells me to take the points of the Raiders. My biggest concern is that they just played. This is like a 5.5 day rest for them, right? They played late into Sunday night into overtime in a scrappy do or die battle, or if you had the option of a tie, maybe not do or die, but. And now you turn around on the early game on Saturday. That's a short rest, whereas you got, you just mentioned Joe Burrow and Chase getting some nice rest, for the most part, taking last week off. Burrow completely taking it off. I just don't have enough confidence laying the 5.5, 5 wherever you're seeing it. At least right now, because the other part of it is I see a lot of people are looking at that box score from a few weeks ago of the Raiders and Bengals, 32-13, I think it was, and maybe that's not a bad angle to take, but that was a 16-13 game at one point in the fourth quarter, so a little bit more of a box score as far as the entire game is concerned. It was a lot closer if you watch that game. And so we're kind of talking ourselves, maybe not the full total game under, but that's kind of where our hearts lie. I think Colton was a little more confident in the under specifically. I think maybe the quarterback props, as far as I typically don't like passing yard props, but I locked in, as did Colt, both under passing yards for these guys, Burrow and Derek Carr. Both of them were it was a pretty run-heavy game, at least on the Bengals side of thing. I feel a little more confident that the Bengals might continue that rushing attack than this one. Joe Mixon, 76.5 rushing yards. I took the over on that one and the under on Joe Burrow's passing yards. So, I think it could be a scrappy game. This Raiders front 7 could get to Joe Burrow a little bit more than people might expect. Which again, in turn, kind of leads me toward this being more of a 20-17 game as opposed to being a full-on 30-33 air show. I don't know if you agree, but this is probably one of my lower confidence and more so staying away from the spread and total as opposed to some of these other games that we've got.
No, I 100% agree. I remember that 16-13, and it was like watching paint dry. I had
Yeah.
a boatload of people at the house, and we're watching the game, and that was one of the games I had targeted. I was like, oh, all the fantasy guys were at the house. I'm like, listen, you got Joe, you got Chase, you got T. Higgins. At that point, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Renfro. Play them all.
Yeah.
And it was
Right.
just, it was ugly. It was
Right.
an ugly, ugly game. Um, so I'm to you in leaning towards the points there. The one thing that scares me is the Marv Lewis Bengals. Win the
Yes.
division, get into the
Yeah.
playoffs, just can't win. I know Joe's special. I
Yeah.
think they're going to be around for a while, but until you get that first win, I don't think you can put them there yet.
Right, and then on the flip side, I mean, the last 20 years of Raiders football hasn't been exactly anything to be confident in as well. Derek Carr, this is his first NFL playoff start in the NFL playoffs. You remember he led him to 12-3 a few years ago, and then got hurt when the last couple of weeks of the season and didn't play in the playoffs. So this is his first playoff game as well, unless you count, technically last week. I guess you can count that as a playoff game in some aspects, but. Yeah, you mentioned it. I think that's kind of why I don't like the Bengals, because they haven't done it in 30 years. So how do you look at them and say that they're going to do it? And I think Joe Burrow is the answer, because I have a lot of confidence in Joe Burrow. He's on my short list of guys, if not the top of the list as far as who, if I'm starting a franchise today, who I'm taking at quarterback, because he doesn't choke under pressure is the other aspect of it. So I think they win, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's a close, scrappy game. This Raiders team, all season long, they'll have a nice run, like you kind of said, and then the wheels fall off for a couple of weeks. But you also kind of laid out the reasons why that might be. The issues with Gruden, then the issues with Ruggs. After both of those situations, they lost 2 or 3 in a row, and then they figured it out. And obviously, they don't have those types of situations. So maybe they were a better team than they ended up, showing in the entire regular season. Whenever I talk back and forth like this is for the most part, it ends with me, okay, I'm just staying away. I don't know what's happening in this one.
Saturday night, round 3, Pats travel to Buffalo. Opened at 4. It's a flat 4. We are seeing some 4.5s now at our friends at the Circa. It is up to 5. An over a 44. Bernie likes, we had Bernie Fredo on this morning at the Breakfast Bankroll. Thank you again, Bernie and Mr. Lucky and Dave Sharapan for connecting all of us here. And you also had Bernie on
Wednesday. We had him on Wednesday at our Wise Word show. Yep.
And he likes the over. It's going to be cold. I haven't heard the winds like on that Monday night game where the Patriots only threw the ball twice. Patriots limping 1-3 their last 4. One of those 3 losses was at home to Buffalo. Any thoughts there?
So I haven't seen a lot of people that share my opinions. I'm actually liking the Bills in this spot, Jeff. I like the Bills minus the 4. I am betting against the Patriots plus the 4 and Bill Belichick. Not for those reasons specifically. For a handful of reasons, I think this Bills team right now is just the flat-out better team. And you could argue this might end in a field goal, but I think the Bills get it done by a touchdown. Pat's D is kind of, I don't want to say the wheels have fallen off, but they weren't clipping along like they were for a few weeks there. 6-game win streak, I think it was, and their defense was fantastic. 27-plus points allowed, 3 of the last 4, the Bills, Colts, and Dolphins. And this Bills offense is playing pretty well right now. I don't know about you, but I keep seeing, and this isn't, this was kind of in my research, kind of just trying to figure out if this matters or not. I'm seeing this weird narrative that Josh Allen is bad in the cold, and it doesn't look like he's fantastic, but I dove deeper into it. He's 11-3 straight up when it's under 40 degrees. 4-1 this year. The one loss was in that 40-plus windy wind game on Monday night. It's not that case today. It seems like 10 to 15, I think, mile per hour wind. Pretty typical for Buffalo, I'd say. And then under 32 degrees, he's 3-2 straight up, 2-0 this year. And the other 3 games where he's 1-2 were the first 2 seasons of his career where he wasn't quite the MVP caliber quarterback that we know today. And, I keep seeing he's, 50% completion in those games. He was under 60% completion in his first 2 years. So I'm kind of throwing phooey on all these bad cold weather guy analysis stats here. And I think he's going to have a really good game, whether it's through the air or on the ground. I think he's going to have, I also took some Josh Allen rushing props. I think he's going to have a really nice rushing day. And I, as good as the Patriots defense was for a while, I think the Bills offense is going to have some success on, what is it, Saturday night, right? Saturday night. And I got the Bills -4 in this one.
And I love where your head is here. And now, like the first game that we just talked about, now you're going, who's the better team versus the 2 decades? In comes Bill, in comes the Patriots, a team that in the playoffs have always rolled. But if you go back 10, 15 years, this is a team that always had the first week off, always had a home game the second week, usually versus a tomato can, and they were double-digit favorites. Right. And then their real game, their one game of the season, I say sarcastically, was usually at home, short favorites against someone. So now the table is turned. The Bills have won the East now 2 years in a row. The Patriots, a handful of weeks ago, were your number 1 seed, controlled their own destiny. Now they're stuck here going to Buffalo. Listen, I think Mac is going to be good. I think they've used kid gloves. I think they're afraid for him to – they don't want Mac to win the game. They want the defense and the ground game to win the game.
Right.
Okay? So if they get behind early, the Pats have been great front runners. So everyone watching this game, listening here, you sit down at 8:15 and the Pats get out 7-0, 10-0, they're going to most likely cover this game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If not win. If they're down 10-0, 13-0, they did it in Indy. He had a good fourth quarter. They almost got there. I remember watching Josh Allen in Wyoming in a blizzard where you couldn't even see the field, 40, 50 mile an hour winds, chucking it 40, 50 yards. The guy is a cold weather beast.
Yeah. I don't know who's leaking this these numbers, and maybe it matters. Maybe he won't be great. I don't know, but I kind of wanted to make sure I at least mentioned that because, and I keep seeing his, and he even mentioned it. He's concerned about his circulation in certain points, and then 2 weeks ago, I think it's a 20-25 degree game against Atlanta, and he runs for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think a lot of people, and then. If you got other reasons and you feel confident in the Patriots, then I'm not debunking that by any means. I just at least wanted to debunk the old Josh Allen can't do it in the cold stats because I don't think that holds much water.
And I guess the joke or whatever, I don't know if it's a joke or not, they're telling him to take a Viagra before the game that will keep the circulation going for him for the 3 hours of that game because they were talking about the circulation. That was on social media earlier this weekend. Imagine a quarterback running around on Viagra. I don't think.
Yeah, sorry. You cut out there for a second, or maybe I cut out for a second, so I didn't hear the first part of what you said there.
On social media, they were talking about, don't worry about circulation, Josh. Take a Viagra.
Yes. Yes. I don't know if I've ever seen a more ridiculous, especially in studio type of conversation. And Bart Scott expected to, be this genius in the room, and everyone looked at him like he just said the craziest thing in the world. So I also don't expect that to happen. I think he'll probably lay off of that stuff. But I like him to certainly win at home, or maybe not certainly, but I definitely, in my opinion, think they get it done at home, and I think they win by a touchdown on that one.
Okay, Saturday we have 3 games. The early game, Philly at Tampa. I'm seeing 8.5s across the board, 8 at Circa. An under-over that opened at 49-ish, 48. It's down to 45.5, some 46s. The middle game, Niners at Dallas. We talked about that. An under-over right now of 51. There are some 50.5s. And it's a 3 minus 120. So actually, it's not going to dip below 3, guys. And if you hold out for the hook, you're going to have to wait a little longer. And then the nightcap. Will this be Big Ben's swan song as the Steelers travel to Kansas City? 12.5s across the board. It did open at 13 and an under-over of 46 and 46.5. The board is yours, Riley.
Alrighty, so I told you that I don't have anything locked in for that Niners and Dallas game yet. I don't quite know what to expect in that one. As far as Philly and Tampa, I'm staying away from the spread. I've got an interesting angle. I might be on an island with this one. I'm going, and it wouldn't even shock me if they stayed under this and covered. I'm going Eagles team total under 17.5, Jeff. I like this Tampa Bay rushing defense to hold back, the Eagles, or at least neutralize them to some degree here. And then I don't think they're going to be able to do much in the passing game. Tampa top 5 rushing yards per game and rushing first downs per game. But the other angle that I was looking at I think the Eagles are going to be a spot where I don't think they're going to be settling for field goals. You know, the old saying of you don't beat team X by kicking field goals. I think they're going to be deploying that strategy. And they're 25th in the league, fourth down conversion percentage, 45%, down at 40 on the road, 40%. And Tampa's been a top 10 defense, slowing down fourth down conversions, 46 on the season, 35% at home. So I personally think the Eagles are going to be attempting to stick to their game plan that they've had the last half of the season and running the ball down people's throats. And maybe it works here in certain spots, maybe it doesn't. And then I think they're going to have a lot of drives that stall with 0 points there in the inside 30 yards in Tampa inside the 30-yard zone. So that's where I'm going. That's one of my lower of all the picks that I've had so far. That's probably my lowest confidence one. But I think, and like I said, it wouldn't even shock me if they managed to cover and have a 24-17 type game and cover that 8.5. 8.5 for Tampa seems a little too good to be true for me. I've got no part in that. I don't quite know what to expect from their offense. I'm definitely not calling for an offensive shootout from them. So I lean towards the full game total under as well, but I'm staying away from that. I've seen a lot of people trying to talk about rain in that game, and then Colton and I kind of look deeper, and there's a certain weather analyst in Tampa, I do believe, kind of debunked that and said it's going to rain pregame and then not by game time. So I'm staying away from that altogether. I'm staying, I would have taken this play regardless of if there might be rain or not. So I like the under for the Eagles team total 17.5.
And I think you're right. That 8.5 smells in this regard. There's not going to be a public or a DGen that plays teasers that doesn't have Tampa minus 2.5.
Right.
You take the 6 there, and now they're just baiting you. Who am I going to take it with? Kansas City to win by a touchdown. Am I taking the Pats up to 10? The Bengals just to win. So right. I honestly think that's a carry. It smells. That number, it just seems out of whack.
It really does. And I want no part in it.
Me either. And good call on the weather. Scott Webb, who's a part of
That's who it was, actually. Yes, Colton found that one. That's exactly who it was.
Yes, and he talked about it. And he is from the area. He will be on later today on our second show on
nice.
Closing Bell. And we'll be talking. He talked about that weather and the rain. It will lead up maybe to pregame. There will be no rain during the game. Game 2 or game 3? You putting your hat on anywhere there, or are we going to just jump to the Monday night game? We can jump to the Monday night game. It's fun.
So I've got strong thoughts about the Monday night game, actually. I personally am staying away from Pitt and Kansas City, at least until this point. I've been enjoying, Colton and I both have been enjoying kind of sitting back on those late Sunday night games. And kind of seeing how the market reacts to either side, and then making a play about 5, 6, a couple hours before pregame. I don't know if that's what I'll do. I personally, and I feel like, and I kind of gave him I kind of razzed him a little bit. He likes the Steelers a lot in the points, and I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I feel like it's too easy for sure, but I think the Chiefs roll in that game. Seems a little too good to be true, but I personally think they roll in that game. Beat them 36-10 without Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. And so with those guys, and I have no faith in that Steelers offense to hang with the Chiefs. So if you want to talk to me that the Steelers defense is going to put together a solid performance, I can definitely listen to that and be swayed into that angle of it. But I really don't think the Steelers offense is going to put up more than 10, 14 points in that game.
No, and I agree. I again, now you go from an 8.5 that smells to a 13. Can they be down by 20 or less and Big Ben gets a swan song to Deontay Johnson and it lands on 12 or 13? He can't throw it over 20 yards anymore.
Right.
The dink and dunk is not going to work. Najee Harris is their bread and butter. The defense would have to be lights out. Again, I think his career ends in Kansas City. most likely. I don't know. That 13, like you said, I too have liked sitting back and just enjoying the late games. I think we would have been better served with Arizona and the Rams, but they saved it for Monday night.
Yeah.
And here, flat fours across the board, an under over that opened at 50, now 49 and a hook. There are 49s at William Hill and Caesars. Both teams 1-1. Both teams won on each other's home field. No DeAndre Hopkins. Take it away.
Yeah, I haven't heard too many opinions about this one quite yet, Jeff. I actually caught this at 3.5. I'm laying the points with the home favorite, the Rams, in this one for a few reasons. I am kind of selling this Cardinals defense, at least in this spot. The team has lost 4 of their last 5, allowed 30 to the Rams themselves, the Lions, and the Seahawks. Who say what you will about the end of the Seahawks seasons, I'm still a believer that their offense was really, really flawed. And I think that with the maybe they weren't going 100% effort because they had the playoffs locked up. They did have the opportunity to avoid, coming into this road game. If they had won that, they could have locked down the division. They're 26th in rush yards per attempt are the Cardinals on defense there, and 11th in yards per completion on defense, but 31st over the last 3 weeks, Jeff. So their pass defense the last few weeks has been brutal, including those Lions and Seahawks games there. So I think this Rams team, and Sean McVay has really had Cliff Kingsbury's number and the Cardinals throughout his tenure. The Cardinals are 1-10-1 the last 12 against the Rams. So I just think the Rams, despite that first game, I think the Rams have the Cardinals number, and I think they win this one by at least 7. I would not be surprised if they won this one going away. So I'm laying the points with the Rams in this one.
And I did some research last night. Kind of caught my eye is a Arizona team that put up 30 or 37 in LA, and then they put up 23 at home.
Yep.
Their team total at Pinnacle is 23.5, and at some other shops is 21.5, which leads me to right into your wheelhouse where I think they will be offensively challenged. I think the Rams D will shine. I think it'll be a tough day for Kyler. I think the Rams and the coach, I'm telling you, Kingsbury, whatever you want to call him, you couldn't win at Texas Tech. You're not going to win in the NFL, kid. You got a boatload of talent here. So I think he gets exposed, and I love where your head is here with the Rams on Monday.
Yeah, and like I said, are you seeing it stuck at 4 across the market right now? I think I caught a weird window yesterday when I was looking at these where I saw 3.5 for the Rams, and I probably would have jumped on it at 4 as well. I'm trying to see here. I think FanDuel might actually have it at 3.5. But regardless, I think they win by at least a touchdown here.
All right, I'm gonna throw this up here. It's Friday. It's payday. I always say fade the public Friday because it's payday and the public usually runs to the windows. Got to play the public, got to play the over. Don't worry, honey. I'm going to bring back a couple pizzas, and then it's 11 o'clock and they're still on the oven and they're cold now. Let's jump into the NBA. We talked about you have some leans. Let's give the people what they want here, right?
All righty. So first one, so I had one early this morning, and I actually came to your show with this team last week, and they took care of business, and we were a little tentative because they were actually getting a lot of public money, and it's the same case today, so maybe be a little tentative. And then the second one is definitely picking off and fading the public, the one that I'll say in a second. But I like the 76ers minus 3.5. Again, I had them last week on your show, Jeff, Friday morning against the Spurs, and they took care of business there. Partially buying into the Sixers, but partially betting against the Celtics. Won their last 3 against the Knicks, 99 points scored on offense, and then 2 games against the Pacers. Pacers not playing some great ball right now, but I with the Sixers, they had their, I don't remember exactly, 7-game win streak or something along those lines. Dropped one to Charlotte the other night at home. I think they bounced back. But again, much like last week, there's a good chunk of money coming in on them. So that, again, has me at least a little bit concerned. What about you?
I have an email blast that we send out to about 25,000 people on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. and it's funny. I went opposite here, and I don't like to play the locals. I sent out the Celtics. I got the 3.5, and for me, I think what caught my eye is the fact that I thought the number was low. I thought
Yeah,
it
that would be
no,
my concern. Yeah.
and I'm seeing 52% of the bets, 54% of the money are on the Sixers. The Sixers just beat the Celtics on December 13th in Boston. Maybe they swap home and away. The one negative I do have is the fact that the Sixers did have a nice winning streak, did just lose their home game, could have been peaking towards the Celtics here. I think it's going to be a great game. Under over is 207.5. So I'll give you 104, 103. How's that?
104, 103. Yeah, maybe. Is that a Sixers win then, and the Celtics cover, or is that a Celtics win?
Uh, I'll give you the Sixers winning the Celtics.
Okay,
cover.
okay. No,
No,
like I said, much like last week, still like because of all this money and how you said as far as Friday, being a little tentative about all this money, they, I think they caught the Spurs at a bad time last week, so I don't know. It's not like I think it's similar to last week. I've just been kind of waiting for this game actually because the Celtics. I don't know. The Celtics have been kind of hit or miss lately. They enjoy playing together some nights. They hate each other other nights, and so I don't quite know what to expect. But I do like the Sixers laying the other one. The other one that I locked in between my show and your show, though, Jeff. So the Memphis Grizzlies about on a 11-game win streak or so, and I am picking off the. I'm taking the Dallas Mavericks here. Plus I saw it 2.5, already dropping down to 2 in certain spots. I do believe. And I think that with the low home favorite, I think it is 11 games win streak actually, maybe give or take a game there, but that seems like a big old setup to me. A lot of money coming in on the Grizzlies once again, and rightfully so. They've been fantastic, but this Mavericks team, they lost their most recent game, but before that they had been playing a lot better than they were throughout the entire season. So I think the Mavericks have got some serious value tonight.
It's amazing you called that game. I'm looking at this, and it's just like a kid in the candy store. It's a Christmas tree. Here's a Memphis team, like you said, that's won 11 in a row. And I know a handful of weeks, not too long ago, actually, we had Memphis at Dallas in the same spot. Memphis was catching 2.5, and they won box to wire. This Memphis team is just on fire. They're fun to watch. They got everything about them. And I don't know if we're falling into a trap here, Riley, because this line opened at 3. It's down to 1.5 at Circa and Westgate. You can get some 2s at South Point and Caesars. But what I'm seeing is the streak's over tonight, and I love that play. I love it.
Well, they're also on a back-to-back, Jeff. That was kind of the final nail in the coffin. They're on a back-to-back. The Mavs got one day off. And if they didn't have that back-to-back, I probably wouldn't have jumped in the entire waters for this one though. But I think this is a big old stinking trap if you're betting on the Grizzlies. And I have to imagine it's only almost 2:00 in the afternoon. I think this is a late night game, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on my side of things. So I have to imagine a lot more public money is going to continue rolling in the Grizzlies. Would you agree with that?
100%. It is a 10:10 tip-off in Eastern time, so 9:10 your time.
Yeah.
That's great nugget right there. You're right. These guys that are getting ready for wild card weekend, these guys that have already played their 7:00 games and have lost, and they're supposed to be home. They're looking for rent money. The cable bill's about to be shut off. There goes the electricity. Why not take the Memphis Grizzlies, who won 11 in a row?
And hey, maybe we're wrong. And if the Grizzlies win, I feel like they might just be defying logic at that point because, 11 straight games. There's no reason they should be this short of a home favorite here in Memphis because they've been fantastic. I took them against the Warriors early in the week, and it was a little sweaty, I guess, but fairly easy money, I would say.
We could talk for hours. God willing, we will. But I know you guys are swamped. You guys got a million things to do. I can't thank you enough. We're hoping that, we can make this happen on a week-to-week or look at your schedule, obviously. I don't want to be that guy. You got so much to offer and spot on. I love the fact that you're in Chicago. I'm in Boston. So we go from, east to the Windy City and just spitting knowledge.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't thank you enough. Please, a weekly appearance, a monthly appearance, twice a week. You tell me, Jeff, and Colton and I will make it happen. We've got All right, we do have a busy schedule, but we've got we can move move things around and do whatever we got to do over here.
Tell the fans where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can catch your podcasts, all your social medias, your YouTubes. Let it rip.
Yeah, if you're watching, you see it scrolling down. That is my Twitter right there, RMAGS TTL Sports, and then the Talking the Line Twitter at Talking the Line. Pretty simple right there. TalkingTheLine.com is your one-stop shop for everything. We've got our Monday through Friday show, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time to about 11:30 noon. That is the Talking Line podcast. That is Monday through Friday on podcast or YouTube or Twitter, Facebook, wherever you need it. Saturday mornings will be live Saturday mornings, including tomorrow, as far as breaking whatever college slate you give us. Usually it's college football and basketball, but obviously now we're into college basketball. So we'll be live 8:30 Central Standard Time on our YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. Cup of Joe on Campus is what that one's called. We'll be breaking down as many college basketball games as we possibly can. And then every Wednesday, Wise Words Wednesday. Mentioned in this show, we had Bernie Fratto on this Wednesday. We'll be having another guest this upcoming Wednesday. You can find that again on YouTube, Twitter, social media, or on Spotify, your favorite podcast directories, whatever it is. We've got 2 of the 3 on podcast directories, Talk the Line and Wise Words. Cup of Joe is only on streaming, and like I said, we'll be there tomorrow morning. So I don't think I missed anything. I hope I didn't. Colt gave me a shout out as far as yesterday. He's Colt TTL Sports on Twitter, so follow him. And then Instagram is the last thing I missed. Talking_the_line as far as our Talking the Line Instagram is concerned, and that I believe is everything I got. TalkingTheLine.com though is everything you need.
If you're not following these guys, you're missing the boat. I'm telling you, just straight knowledge, enthusiasm, dedication. Colton, just spitting fire. I mean, the guy's an the Energizer Bunny. I mean, and put you two together, it is the perfect combination. As I would say at my old dog and horse track, you guys are definitely the King Quinella. How's that sound?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean, we oppose in the right spots. We were together in the right spots as well. He's the Bears fan. I'm the Packers fan. I'm White Sox. He's Cubs. So we oppose where we need to, and we lock arms when we need to as well. So I appreciate the kind words. Thank you once again for having me again today.
So from myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from RMAGS TTL Sports at Talking the Line, this is your midday market report for Friday. We wish everyone the best. We want everyone to have a wild weekend. Always enjoy yourself. Always wager responsibly. And always use your head, not your heart. And if you have that problem, pick up the phone. There's an 800 number there. Why? Because we care. Ask for help. We want you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. So have a blessed day. Enjoy yourself. Cash some tickets, and we will see you soon.